I've moved house, moved workshop.
This is really exciting. I cannot wait for you to see this.
This is a whole different beast, but it's mine. Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Thank you so much for joining me. This is not a familiar background because we're not in the workshop, we're not in Kent. I've moved house, moved workshop and moved down to Cornwall. This whole place years ago used to be a huge dairy farm. As far as you can see, most of the land around used to be owned by the farmer. 3 generations, I think, of the family have owned it and farmed it. And over the last 10, maybe 20 years, land has been sold off, buildings have been sold off, and it's all sadly been split up. Just the economy and the way things are going for farmers in this country, it's really sad, but it's just not financially viable anymore. This house was the farmer's house. This is where they lived for 3 generations. Front of the house, it's not in fantastic condition, needs an awful lot of work. There is water, there's no heating. There's an old Arga in there that is used to be coal fired, it's been converted to oil, so I've got a lot to learn with using an Arga. That is providing the hot water for the house as well. This is the back garden, which is going to end up being a sort of kitchen garden, raised beds, greenhouse. This is the current greenhouse, which is falling apart. That'll be going soon. And then through this gateway is onto something quite exciting. We've got a massive field that is far too big for me to know what to do with. Planting trees, making it more of a garden. We'll get into the garden design of things later on. If you're interested, let me know. Planting trees, building a little mini sort of orchard bit, possibly digging a pond, obviously building another mega structure. If you haven't seen the last video of the old house with my mega structure there, go back and have a look. There are plans to build some kind of mega structure eventually. I'm looking forward to getting into turning this bare empty field that was once full of cows into a bit of a nice garden, hopefully. I know you're looking forward to this. Thank you so much for the support from the last couple of videos of moving out. Slightly different videos to the channel to what I would normally sort of do, but they seem to have been well received. You all are very supportive, so thank you so much. An absolute honour to be the new custodian of this very special farmhouse. I don't have the hundreds and hundreds of acres that this used to have, but I've got enough, trust me. There's enough here. The view is beautiful and it's nice to have all this space. Imagine how many project cars I could park in this field, eh? But this does come with some issues. There's walls down either side, fences, and a lot of it is broken, which needs maintaining. I did look at other places which had a lot more land, but the locations weren't quite as good. And I did kind of get a bit scared and think, actually, I don't need that much land. It's going to be more of a burden than anything else, because already I'm finding just having this one field is plenty of work to keep me busy. Have a look at this wall. I mean, half of a crumbling, broken wall, a knackered gate. This is a perfect example of things that need tidying up and sorting out and repairing, but luckily I know a man that can. Let me introduce you to Spike. Spike is a local stonemason who has built some of the most beautiful walls around here. He's super talented. I cannot wait for you to see what he does to transform this half of a crumbling down wall with a broken gate into something beautiful. You're going to be seeing a lot more of him on the channel, I think, because there's a lot of work for him to do. The story is that whilst the farmer was working on all the fields, ploughing them, whatever he's doing, there were massive bits of granite that would just get dug up in the fields that were buried, and as he dragged his machinery over them, they would break the machinery. So part of the job would be to go around and move these big massive boulders, big bits of granite up to the side of the field, out of the way of where they're growing crops and where the cows are, basically. This field didn't have crops in it, so it was no use for the crop growing, so the machinery was never in here. All of the massive bits of granite ended up here. So we have actually inherited a huge pile of some of the biggest bits of granite I think I've ever seen. These are all mine to do whatever I want with, which is kind of epic. I feel like already getting inspiration from all of this for Mega Structure Mark II. Imagine building some kind of outdoor pizza oven-y kind of building with some of these huge rocks. I love it. They're absolutely massive. How I'm going to move them, I do not know. It's all lovely having the formal kitchen garden around the house.
Come and have a look what is down the end of the field. This is really exciting. I cannot wait for you to see this.
This is my new workshop. Literally a short walk down the field. I could roll out of bed and pretty much be in the workshop. This is what it's all been building up to. That was the dairy. It's an amazing thing to be able to say that I actually own my own building. The previous unit that I was in, I was renting that, but it was beautiful, pristine, insulated, nice and secure, really lovely. This is a whole different beast, but it's mine. Look at the size of this. It takes me this long just to walk halfway down the end of it. I think up until very recently, there'd been cows living in here and they have left a lot of presents for me. First job is not the best job, but I had to get all of that remnants out to give me a relatively clean walkway so I could actually wheel my tools up and down. So there's 2 bays like this, and you can see it's got these raised platforms where the cows used to, I guess, get milked. I'm assuming that's what they were doing, having breakfast. It's got a raised platform in the middle and a raised platform either side of this wall and one on the other side as well. Look at it. And I'm so chuffed that I've got this workshop, this building at the moment, but it needs some work. These raised platforms need to go because they're just taking up massive amount of space and are completely useless for what I need to do. I need a nice flat floor in here so I can wheel things around and put some workbenches in. That means bringing in some heavy equipment because this is all concrete. Even if I hired a mini digger, I think it wouldn't be enough. I think I need to get a big excavator in here, which all sounds horrendously expensive. And that is just so I can get the floor flat. My fear is I don't actually know what's under this. Was this barn flat concrete and then they built this the paving on top? Or do you think there's just mud underneath here? So when I break this out the way, I'll be left with a big muddy patch, which is equally useless. And then I've got a huge expense of trying to fill that void in with concrete. What do you reckon? Place your bets now. I'm a bit nervous because if I'm just breaking them out, I've got a digger hire and a couple of people to help do that and maybe a dumper truck to get the rubble out. If I have to start re-pouring concrete, things get very expensive and I have not got the funds to do that quite yet. Down the middle there's a sort of gully that's a big gutter. It's absolutely full of plants. And I think that is part of the reason why water is obviously getting in. So all of these middle columns are very wet. This is a big problem because I do not need water coming in here. I want to be putting machinery, lathes, mills, things and ranelers against these walls. So I cannot have the wall wet. Everything will go rusty. So one of the early jobs I'm going to have to do is try and get up on this roof and try and at least clear out the gutter, that sort of gully in the middle. The construction of this building is all sort of cast concrete, so there'll be joins, it'll be cast in sections and there'll be little sort of joining sections. Maybe they need kind of like fiberglassing or something over the gaps to try and stop the water coming through. Getting this building watertight is going to be quite a job because we are lacking a lot, like walls. This is this blockwork construction from the floor up to sort of six foot roughly, and then this sort of concrete panels should be all the way along there. There's a lot of openings where the weather's coming in, all bolted together with this sort of wrinkly tin looking roof, which potentially could be asbestos, could be like concrete, who knows at the moment, I don't know. I'm going to send a piece away to get tested before I start meddling with that. I'm kind of in the game of restoration, aren't I? So maybe let's step up the restoration and try and restore this lovely old building. It's got so much history and character. This building was made by a company called At Cost because they've got it cast in the sort of gutter bit outside. Does anybody out there have any connections with At Cost or anyone that works there, knows anyone that works there? Are these sections still available? Can I just order these cross beams that are a bit crumbly and the steel's kind of breaking through because for the rust? Can I just unbolt that and bolt a new one on? Is it as simple as that? I've got no idea, but I'm sure some of you guys will. It is incredibly daunting taking this on, partly because I'm clueless and I don't know where to start. Getting on the roof, replacing the roof, it sounds easy enough, but my goodness, everything is just massive. Blocking up these walls to close the gaps off is fine for 1 or 2, but to times 30, it's a big job. With that in mind, let me show you the first purchase that I've made. I've got myself a forklift. It was advertised on Facebook Marketplace just down the road. It's certainly got some character. It's a diesel, 4-cylinder diesel. I think it's a Perkins engine or very similar to a Perkins engine. Everything seems to work. It's obviously old and had a life. I've never worked on a forklift before. Hydraulics and all these sorts of things are way out of my comfort zone. Getting a nice new fancy electric forklift was just not an option. I could not afford it. It's made by a company called Bonza, British made. Are there any forklift engineers out there? I would love to have a workshop manual or an owner's manual or user guide or anything like that that explains what oil I should be putting in the gearbox and all that sorts of stuff. Like any kind of like user guide or user manual for one of these would be so helpful. So if anybody out there can share some wisdom, please leave me a comment below, let me know. But conveniently, Brother Dan was working less than an hour away down the road. And I'm so grateful that of all the days for him to come down, whilst all my stuff is turning up, all of my precious belongings, Brother Dan has come down to give me a hand, and I am so grateful. Thank you, Dan, if you're watching. Turns out he's quite a good forklift driver as well, which I'm not. I've never driven one before, and the rear steering it's an experience. But luckily, Brother Dan is very experienced in driving them, and he's done a brilliant job, and I'm so grateful that he was actually here to help me get all of my precious things inside the barn. It can lift 3 or 3.5 tons, which I'm hoping is enough to lift my mega drill. I cannot wait for everything to just be here and know that everything's here on the ground, safe and secure. And then we can start rebuilding. First thing in the morning, it's frosty and I'm back. The last thing you saw was Spike, the stonemason, prepping the floor, breaking the concrete out to build this wall. I've missed a few days worth of progress. I was at the workshop loading, had 2 days of filming the new podcast, recording the podcast for Make It at Market. So it's been a busy week, but I'm back and I think Spike is here today, so we can catch up with him today and hopefully catch some progress. Spike needed some granite for building this wall. It's quite a process, I think, selecting the right stones and putting them the right way up. You need to sort of lay them all out and work out what you've got and just sort of Tetris and jigsaw them all together. It's very, very clever. There was a rockery out the front of the house, a big rockery, which was the previous owners, I think, pride and joy. They really enjoyed it there, but it didn't quite make sense because behind it is the beautiful wall onto views outwards, and there was this sort of conifer in the middle of the huge rockery that were just spoiling the view. So Spike got his buddy over with his mini digger, taking apart the rockery and launching the rocks over the wall so they can use these rocks from the rockery in the new boundary wall, which was very clever, reusing what was there. So now the rockery has gone and they've left it pristine, very nice and flat, raked it over and put some grass seed on it. That'll grow back in no time. And now I've got a massive display of rocks laid out on the grass in the field that Spike is sort of picking his way through.
This is just kind of bringing it to that line.
I see. So this that string line there is.
Yeah, then everything gets easier after that.
So it's not just random. There is a method to it.
Yeah, really, I'm working towards that line. Well, the next course I'll want to get towards straight.
Okay, so the closer to straight you are now. So I can
have a few. I can pick it up on the bottom of the stone, the deviation in that.
Yeah, it will transfer up to the next
and
course.
Just straightening it up till that we get to the top where we've got it straight.
I guess if you've got a low spot on this course, you can use a bigger one.
Yeah.
If you get one that's too tall for the next course, you can put it where there's a low spot. And
yeah.
So you're doing that on both sides?
Yeah, I'm going to do, so I'm more or less now going to go to that side. So I've got to find a few stones to fit these gaps.
Yeah.
And then I'm running it, I'll be running it through this height, that side, towards level.
Yeah.
That's me setting it up for coursing it.
So then there'll be another level on top, smaller ones.
Smaller ones, maybe 2 or 3, depends on the height.
Yeah.
Here, so it looks like it might be 3 in the end.
There's nothing actually holding this all together, is there? There's no mortar.
No, it's its shape is its strength.
So it's slightly tapered.
So it's cambered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should close on itself in time. And
so as it all settles and kind of finds its place,
it should just tighten up.
Oh, nice.
That's why they've been around for so long.
Because they just get stronger and stronger as they fall in on themselves almost to kind of hold them together.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you're explaining, is exactly behind you. It's literally right there. That's been there for 200 years.
Yeah. And I think the oldest they say is like 6,000 years. The oldest thing on Earth built for its purpose
Is a wall.
is a dry wall.
Dry stone.
Yeah, like a Cornish hedge.
Yeah. Well, there we go. A bit of a lesson from how to build a dry stone wall, or a Cornish hedge, they call them here apparently. It's more of a wall than a hedge, but hey, I'm not going to argue with that. It's very, very clever. I don't know how he does it. He's been there for days, just piecing through this graveyard of rocks that we've got out of the rockery, and just sifting through, working his way through, picking the one that fits, chipping away where it needs it. It's so impressive. It's quite nice thinking that the wall is going to be there for hundreds of years. There's no reason why that won't stay there for a very, very long time. It's nice to be doing things properly. I'm leaving again tonight, back to the workshop to fill the van up again, film another podcast, and then load the van and come back. So I'm going to miss more progress on the wall. See how far he's got in the next few days. Seeing things like my Porsche and the big drill dangling from some straps so high up in the air is so scary. I have got another issue. This entrance is big enough to fit a cow out, yes, fine, and a tractor, not big enough to fit my mega drill in. It's actually not tall enough, which is a huge problem. It kills me to say it, but I'm going to have to leave my mega drill outside. I'm going to wrap it up in a tarp, just keep the weather out until I can make this opening bigger. There's sort of scope for it to be bigger, but it's going to mean taking this whole front cladding off. There's a steel I-beam across there. All of that's going to have to go to make way for a bigger opening and eventually a roller shutter. It's a clear day. It's a bit windy though. It's not raining, so that's good. But I'm dying to get out into the field and see how Spike is getting on with the wall, because he must be nearly done by now. He was supposed to be done start of the week, so I think he's run over a little bit because there was a few complications, but I genuinely haven't seen it, so I'm quite excited to go and have a look. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. It's too good. The rest of the wall now looks a bit too scruffy. My God, that was the perfect height. It looks so smart, so much better. Before, just think, a few days ago, a week or so ago, there was a bent, broken gate, not half a crumbled down wall, loads of bramble, and a whole kind of wasted corner of the field. Now, look at that. Oh, it looks lovely. That somehow now, this little gap where that wooden pole is, needs to blend in to that, and I think it will. I trust that Spike will do a good job. You see that angle that Spike was talking about. Oh, here he is. Hello, Spike.
Alright.
How are you getting on?
Okay.
This is looking brilliant.
Oh, glad you
It's
like
looking really, really good. Are you pleased?
it. Yeah. So one thought was just to run that course into this level.
Yeah, and it can sort of
And
feather
leave
out.
that bit of wall, because it's joining wall like it.
Yeah, bringing that course to there.
Yeah.
And then just tidying that, but don't put the small course on top. Just sort of
tidy that
like
up.
leave that like that.
Yeah.
And just tidy that little blend. It can step or just blend in, because by the time there's going to be turf and then stuff growing out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. We're nearly there. It's looking so good though.
Oh, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
It's so much better than a fallen down gate. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad you like it. Some of the big lintels, coins.
Above the windows.
Well, go see that window, bottom window on the left.
Yeah.
Just go across, you'll see there's a coin, really long coin.
Oh yeah, level with it. Yeah, to the left to go into the outside of the.
Stones like that in there, you know. But they're just asking to be made wider, those windows.
The windows need to be made wider, and the mortar needs changing, doesn't it? It's all cement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, what you do is you carefully chase it all out and see how tidy the stone is.
Okay. The edges of the stone,
yeah,
you mean?
the edges of the stone. So you chase it out without hurting the stone. And you might well, because it looks like such nicely dressed stone that those mortar beds might be really clean.
Nice straight corners. I suppose if all the corners are chipped off and knackered, then it will start looking a bit sloppy if you put. Yeah.
So what you can do then is line point it. If you don't get a really clean dress cut stone, because it can be laid with really, tight beds.
Yeah.
Then what they would do is like mortar that, and then do a raised point.
Yes,
They use a straight edge.
It's like a fake mortar line.
Yeah.
But actually, there's more
it's raised.
Yeah.
And it's done to give all the squareness back to
To make it look square, even though there's bits of mortar that are pretending to be stone.
Yeah.
In between driving back and forwards, loading and unloading that van with all my tools, there is still an overwhelming amount of work to do with the actual house and this building, which is on the side of the house. I'll show you around the other side of it and inside in another video later on. This whole wall was covered in ivy, so when I've got a spare 5 minutes whilst the sun's shining, I'm just getting up my ladder and chopping it all off and trying to remove it. I mean, I hate ivy. It does no good for the mortar, the wall, and it's creeping up now onto the roof, which is, to be honest, the only good bit of this building. So I want to get it all removed so I can actually see what state that wall is in, because it's got a bit of a bulge at one point and the corner has got a massive crack down it. I think it may well be trying to crack and sort of the whole side of the building fall off. I know that some people say chop the ivy at the bottom and leave it for a week and it will all just die. I just think it's not. This is so well rooted in, it's not going to make a difference at all. It's almost like it's rooted itself in further up. There's so much mud and sort of old bits left in the wall. It's just made a proper home in this wall. The best way I can think to do it is to just get my gloves on and just pull it off, chopping it into chunks when I need to. It's all up in the eaves, it's going inside, it's made its way well into the building inside as well. I'm going to try and get an architect or a structural engineer around to have a proper look, make a bit of a plan of how to fix it. It's obviously been here a long time and there's some huge bits of granite in there, but they've moved and they are moving. When you break the sort of like strands and you get it on your skin, it irritates my skin so badly. But let's take a second, just admire the view for a sec. Hey, look at this. We'll get there eventually. We've got to keep going with the workshop and try and get that working first, but this is exciting. I'm looking forward to this one, and I'll take it down the garden eventually at the end of the day, and this is all going to end up on the bonfire. I'm heading back up to the workshop to get another load of stuff and another high-ab load. We're almost there, but it's killing me. I'm so knackered, absolutely knackered. It's a long old drive in a big old heavy van, but we're getting there. We are getting there, and the wall is looking beautiful. It's nearly the end of the day, and I'm going again first thing in the morning. So before Spike goes home, I thought I'd catch last little bit of progress. Oh, it's because I was recording.
Yeah, there you go.
The colour in there, it almost looks rusty. Do you think there was already a crack there?
Yeah, that's why it was a weak
water's
bit.
Got in there.
Yeah.
Cut the face off.
Just want to get that cut off.
It's because this is an offcut of like a cut piece of stone.
Yeah. So, you know, it's lovely stone. It's just a good way to reuse it.
Just trying to weather the edge and break up that cut edge.
You know, the very wealthy places, they have very neat walls with tight stone, you know, so...
Yeah, we don't have one of those.
No, but indirectly we're getting that, you know.
Yeah, we can have the wobbly ones. So there's like a little high spot there that this was rocking on, is there? See, fettling that bottom bit to get it to sit nice.
Yeah, that's right. We're nearly there. That will do.
Love it. That'll do. Amazing.
So there's a few cut there I'll come back to and rough them off,
Right.
and that'll all look right. And
Perfect.
then with the earth, because I'll bring some earth to pack them in at the back.
Sort of hold them in.
Hold them in, yeah. And that's it really.
Done. Easy. Just
Yeah.
like that. A few more days have gone past and I'm back in Cornwall. Still haven't moved everything out of the workshop, but I'm very close now. I'm very, very close. But I'm very pleased to say that Spike has finished the wall, and I have just been chopping bits of turf from the back garden because I'm putting in some sort of raised beds to put some like a little kitchen garden bit out the back. So I'm nicking the turf from there, wheelbarrowing it round, and I've put it on top of the wall. It's a traditional way of finishing these cornice hedges or walls, is to sort of lay turf on the top. Eventually I'll probably plant some bits out the top of it, a bit like the one behind me. Spike has done an amazing job. Honestly, I'm blown away by the work that he does. I've seen a few of the walls and buildings that he's built around here, and it's so clever. The time and patience that he's got to piece these heavy pieces of granite together, chipping them away, getting them to sit nice and flat. Every single one is so considered. I love it. And looking at this wall now, I appreciate it looks new, and you can tell new pieces to old pieces, but it's brand new. It's literally not even been here a week. Give that 6 months, once a bit of rain sets in and a few bits of plant stock growing out of the gaps here and there, that is going to look as spot on, as good as the one that's been standing here for hundreds of years. Big thank you to Spike. He has done an amazing job. Can't wait for him to come back for the next project, which may well be that back wall for that other building in the back garden, but that might be a bit in the future. We'll have to see. But yeah, Spike is a legend. And breathe. I'm in. All of my stuff is here. Yes, it's absolute carnage and it's an absolute mess. Stuff is everywhere. I'm out the old workshop and my whole life is down here now in Cornwall. What a journey this has been. The last couple of months have been so hard, physically, mentally, just, oh goodness me, I can't even explain. And really, the journey is only just beginning. This is the start of a huge amount of work, and this is where I need you guys to help. I'm in way over my head with this workshop and the construction and the practical side of actually getting this building to be a habitable workshop. The garden, the field, the house, the other buildings, there's a lot here, but none of that is car related. So you need to leave me a comment and let me know what you want me to do. What do you want to see? Do you want the channel to go on hold and me not do videos until the workshop's up and running and we can get back on the Porsche and the cars and get going? Do you want to see the progress of the barn and the buildings and the house and the garden and everything here? Or do I start a second channel, Dom's construction channel, doing all of the building works and the house and the garden and the workshop works, and keep this channel for the cars? I probably would rather keep it all onto one channel. But do you even want to see the content? Have you enjoyed this video with a little walk around of some random bits and bobs? There's a lot more of this to come, especially once we get started with this building. We're going to be doing some major works to it, but do you want to see it? So leave me a comment below. Let me know what you want to see, or if you're bored by all of this concrete and mud and granite and you just want me to get back to the cars. Trust me, I want to get back to the cars as well, but there's a lot of work to get this barn up and running. But for now, it's time for me to have something to eat and have a rest. Until next week, I'll see you next Sunday, 5 PM. Thank you so much for all of the support. I'm really enjoying sharing this journey with you all. I hope you're enjoying it too. Leave me some comments, leave me some feedback. It's always welcome. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Make sure you've subscribed.